Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED. August 22nd is our date. Glad you've joined us across Southern Oregon, Northern California here on KMED. Wow, the real estate market. What in the world's going on? You know, we've had some great shows this last month. As you know, the Sheriff of Jackson County was with us. The CPA, Glenn Cunningham, talking about latest in taxes and real estate. We've had the home builders on. Don't forget, 2 weeks in September, the home builders have the big home tour. So HBAJC.com has the information on that for you as well. So there's definitely just a lot going on around Jackson County in terms of real estate right now. Well, when I think of John L. Scott, you know, is just a terrific office, and it's one of those places that you learn and you grow with other people. And we've got two terrific agents who've joined us today on our Market Watch show, who come from different kind of backgrounds to get where they are today. One of them is Alice Lima, who is a real estate broker. Nice to Alice, where'd you go? The microphone. There you go. Take that back, darling. You got to get right in front of that. First of all, nice to have you with us. It's good to have you here.
Thanks, Pete. It's great to be here.
Yeah, tell us, you surprised me. Somehow I have figured you were a broker a longer time than you have been. But tell us how you got to here, Alice, because you're a pretty darn good real estate broker.
Oh, well, thanks. I have been a professional real estate investor for a lot of years. In fact, that's how I took care of my kids when I was a single mom. And so that helped a lot. By the time I decided to become a broker when my kids were grown up, it was the bottom of the crash. It was 2009. And but because of my investment background and having bought and sold my own properties, I learned how to do open houses at my own for sale by owners, for example. Yeah. So it was easier.
So you bought properties as an investor and flipped them and fixed them up and sold them.
But I also owned apartment buildings, manufactured home, land, commercial, luxury, anything you could imagine. I've either made money or lost money on it.
Yeah, there's no in between on those, is there? There really isn't. So you've been doing you got into this business at the low point.
At the low point,
about 6 years ago, it was the real estate market was not very good. So you really had to. Boy, like Joe and I, you start at the bottom there, don't you?
You start at the bottom, that's right.
There's no other way around that. Well, nice to have you here, Alice, and we look forward to hearing from you more. Sandy Lighthall, on the other hand, I was talking to Sandy, and I see him, at the John L. Scott meetings and stuff, and I asked him, well, geez, most people who come into our show, as our listeners know, have done something else before they became real estate brokers. But Sandy's almost a little different than that because, well, you've been doing this a long time.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Well, tell us how you got started in this.
Well, I bought my first property. I was in college. I was 20 years old, and I've been buying and selling ever since. And in fact, when I worked in a pipeline in Alaska, my wife and I bought a house over off of Kings Highway on Agate. We bought it for $30,000, held it for 14 months, sold it for $68,000, and I said, geez.
This is pretty good.
Yeah, why am I working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day in the pipeline when I can be doing this, buy 4 or 5? But obviously I learned about price, terms, condition, location, and that was my education. So.
It's interesting that both of you started in buying properties and selling them at a profit.
Hopefully.
So did you ever lose a lot of money in that kind of event? I would think that, I don't know, it would seem like you probably wouldn't, but I guess there's a lot of risk there.
Each transaction you learn more, so the next time you hopefully don't make the same mistake.
Yeah. So do you still buy and sell like that, Sandy?
Outstanding, yes. In fact,
so you still do that?
Well, I just closed one today. I bought 2 years ago, 2 houses, 1 lot for $63,500, owner carry at 3.5%. And I sold it for $200,000, and funding is on Monday.
Well, then no wonder you got the big smile on your face, huh, Alice? Those are what you wait for, right?
Yeah, and I'm still actively investing. I just bought from an estate a little West Medford cutie that would not finance, and nobody else wanted. And I got it for $90,000. I'll probably put 4 or 5 into it just to make the bathroom handicapped accessible, wheelchair accessible. And the vacancy rate, as we were mentioning earlier, is so tight right now, 1.1%, which is literally nothing available.
Right.
So those little 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1-bath houses in West Medford are renting for $950 a month, and you have zillions of people wanting to rent them.
And you just no problem renting them.
No problem renting them, and I'm excited to be investing again and doing some serious wealth building while we're on this uptick.
And that's one of the things that we've always told our our listeners who've listened to our show for years is building wealth is through you can build wealth through property. If you just home ownership, I think the National Association of Realtors has their that statistic which they share of wealth building versus renters, that they share. And the average renter has a combined wealth of about $6,000, and a homeowner has a combined wealth of about $194,000. So that in itself is tells you that home ownership is still a wonderful investment to do. So so I didn't even know this about the two of you. So both of you are investors. You're selling. You're renting properties. And that is a way for many people to do. So do you encourage other people to do this too? Let me ask. Is that something? Because we tell people to do this.
Well, one thing about Alice and myself, I think we've learned a lot from the aspect. What makes Alice successful and myself successful is I treat the seller that we're working with as I'd want to be treated. Whenever somebody shows, I do immediate follow-up. A lot of sellers complain that they don't hear back from the realtor. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we do is follow-up is so important, it's crucial. And yes, I encourage people to buy our product because, as you mentioned, more fortunes throughout history have been through buying and selling property than any other endeavor, stock market or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the thing is about buying a house, you control your investment. You control when you want to sell, what you buy. And like Alice said, she bought the house for $90,000. Right now, anything under $150,000 has less than a month on the market in Medford. Mm-hmm. So that's really, and then we have a 1% factor. If you buy something for $100,000, you want to be able to rent it out for $1,000. So if you buy something for $90,000 and you rent it off for $950, there's that 1% factor. Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned about renters having a $6,000 overall value, net worth. They get no tax deductions,
right?
No appreciation. And I've been a landlord for so many years, and I love my tenants because they're paying off my mortgage or mortgages.
Mm-hmm. And you take care of them. How are you? Let me ask you this, since we're talking about rentals and kinds of things. Let me just ask you, because the issue like legal marijuana, some of the issues that we hear when we have property that, talking to homeowners or owners like yourselves, how do you deal with these kinds of things? Do you manage your own properties, or do you have somebody do them for you? Or tell me how you guys do that.
I don't know about Alice, but I take care of my own properties.
So you manage your own. Okay.
I do too.
And you both do. So you screen the tenants. You do the whole thing. You guys know the rules and in terms of fair housing and all that kind of stuff that goes with this.
Well, I rent a little bit below market value. Some of my tenants have been in there over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And, you pretty much get a gut level feeling. And I know one thing I've learned over all the decades, when somebody doesn't have the first, last, and all they have is excuses and good stories, I let them in, and then they're nothing but problems from day one.
Right.
And some of the people that have the good or great stories, they should actually be in sales themselves because they sell me a lot.
Yeah. And one of the things that you have to do, it's a business.
Oh, sure.
It's a business. It's not, we've heard stories, you're right, of terrible stories. But you are running a business and you have to do it that way. I can see that.
If they don't pay me, I can't pay my mortgage.
That's right.
And then I'm out of business.
Yeah. So you really have those things. Well, that's an interesting part of it. Let's turn to the residential real estate market for just a minute. Here we are in the end of August, and it's been just an amazing ride. John L. Scott in July sold $77 million worth of real estate. That's just amazing to me. Tell me what you guys are seeing about this market, and what do you think is where it's heading to right now, or what's going on with it?
Well, I think it's definitely a seller's market. We had the crash. We overshot the bottom. We've had a couple years coming back, and now it's stabilizing, but it's still moving up. So it's going up in fits and starts. There's little micro dips here and there depending on the neighborhood. But overall, the sellers are really in charge. A lot of them have multiple offers. That does not mean sellers can charge anything they want. If you have a $250,000 house, you're not going to get $350,000 for it. It's not 2005 again yet. It might be 10 years from now.
Well, as you say that, I'm wondering. I think that's we've passed that. It took us a decade. The Lawrence Wan, the National Association of Realtors economist, said in June of this year, the average price, the median price across this country reached $236,000, which surpassed the 2006 market of 230,000. So he says we have surpassed that. We're now beyond 2006.
But our little valley is slightly different. We usually run a little higher than the average.
Oh, we do,
yeah,
yes, absolutely,
we do.
yes.
And we have coming back into our market, the California market, which is probably 6 to 8 months, would you say, Sandy, in front of us, and they're selling their houses now, and they're starting to active retirees coming and finding us and wanting to live here. And the cash buyers accidentally drive prices up because they do not get an appraisal. They don't have a neutral third party saying, yes, that's a fair market price or not. If you're a cash buyer, you want what you want, you negotiate with your seller, and that is the new comparison for that whole neighborhood for 6 months. And that is in part what's driving up our market, and there just are not enough homes for people to buy.
That's a good point you bring up, Alice. A cash buyer does not get an appraisal. So if you a $250,000 house, if the cash buyer wants to pay $300 for it,
Well,
he
we
can,
had,
right? Something kind of thing.
yeah, in East Medford, I had a listing not that long ago, and we listed it for $250,000, and we had 6 offers in the first 48 hours.
6, okay.
And the
Here-
cash,
that's
6
amazing.
offers
Okay,
in
6
48
offers.
hours.
This is what we tell our listeners. This is what's happening.
This
out
is
there.
what's happening
This is why you
right
have to be ready
now.
day one, or you're
Right.
not going to get your house.
Right. And so then the seller gets to pick which buyer they want, and they picked somebody who was cash, and then it didn't matter that it was 100, not 100,000, I didn't have like 10,000.
It could be over what would be the appraised price.
Exactly.
They could do that. Wow. Well, that makes a difference, doesn't it? Then when the appraiser comes along, they're comparing that, and it's so yes. But it is a seller's market. Now, I heard when we were at our office meeting, one of the things that the big concern seems to be, Sandy, is the available homes, the inventory. I mean, there's like a 2-month supply of inventory in Jackson County right now, which in a normal market, Jim Remley, who's our managing principal broker, says should be 6 months.
That's the norm nationwide is 6 months. And you mentioned, both of you were mentioning about appreciation. Across the nation is 8% appreciation. In our valley, it's just a little bit over 10% appreciation. So what better investment that you can control than real estate? And like right now, as Alice was saying, multiple offers. I had one 2 weeks ago over on Roundgate in the Hampton Home subdivision.
Okay.
And the lady who put the offer in, it wasn't even on the market of the day, and they came in $500 over full price because she had lost 2 other previous bids.
Oh, my goodness.
And they did not want to lose the sale on this house here, so they came in $500 over the asking price.
And that got it for him.
Yes, and then one thing too, like a cash buyer, whatever buyer, if they're getting a new loan, then they have to go through the appraisal process. So as I counsel sellers, that there's a possibility that it may or may not appraise out.
Right.
And like I had one last year that we had to market for $225, and we got it sold for $231,750, but the appraiser could only come up to $231, so we had to renegotiate to $750.
$750.
Yeah.
Well, I had one where the appraisal was $5,000 less than the agreed upon price. And, when that happens, people have to make choices, don't they? And it's interesting to me because in this particular case, the buyer said, because the seller says, well, this is what I want, I'm not going to change. And so either the buyer's got to come up with it or walk away. And the buyers seem to come up with that extra money sometimes if they want the place, right? So that's what we're...
It depends on the agent.
It depends. Okay. All right. Okay.
Well,
Well, that's true. Okay.
What I do a lot of times, if it's going to be tight, I do other comps of solds in the area. So I counsel the buyer and I counsel the seller that this is what it is. And unfortunately, that's it's not really the people buying the house. It's the lender buying the house.
It's the lender, yeah.
And then they have stipulations that, yeah, if you want to pay more than it's worth, that's up to you. Well, nobody I don't have a tendency to work with people that want to pay more than something's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do, I have a tendency to do, if I think it's going to be close, I will meet the appraiser out there and kind of interact with the appraiser, because right now, as I said, the approximate is almost like 2% per month appreciation.
Yes, 2% a month,
So
yes.
one I have over Roundgate, it's the highest one sold in the area, and that's what it is. It's 2% now has caught up.
It's gone up that much just since you've been talking about it. Yeah.
So it's
and people are going to get left behind if they're not aware of these things. So you're right. We're having that's the thing that concerns me the most about the market. We've got a break coming up here. I don't know if you guys agree with this. Is that if we have the county assessor coming on at the end of October each year, and the valuations have been rising double digits here, and it's 2% a month is what you just said, Sandy. That how long can that continue? And is it going to continue? I don't see it. It doesn't seem to me that it's going to slow down.
Well, Pete, if I knew that, I'd be very wealthy.
I look at Alice. Do you think that's going to happen? I mean, there's a lot going on with this.
I think we're going to continue to have an upward trend. I think it's going to be very strong, and there's going to be many fits and starts.
All right.
But for the most part, I think we're going to be up.
All right, we're with Alice Lima and Sandy Lighthall, JLS Brokers, here on the Real Estate Show today on August the 22nd. We're going to take a break and come back, continue with the show. Going to ask them about what's the most interesting listing they have they want to share with us. That and more, the Real Estate Show here on KMED. The Real Estate Show rolls on here on KMED for August the 22nd of 2015. Pete Belcastro here with you. I'm a real estate broker with John L. Scott here in Medford and Ashland. And, we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about all sorts of things related to real estate. Water, we had water quality last week. Great topics of home building, mortgage interest rates. And that's another topic that we're going to sit and discuss here right now with Alice Lima and Sandy Lighthall, John L. Scott Real Estate Brokers, who are with us here today. Let's talk about mortgage interest rates right now. I mean, when you stand here every week, and you do this, and everybody says that interest rates are going to go up, they're going to go up, they're going to go up, and we haven't seen that yet. They continue to be this low. In fact, they're even dropping a little bit into the high threes now. To me, as long as it stays that way, this market is going to continue pretty robust. If they start rising, what happens then? Tell me what your thoughts on that, Alice?
Well, it's particularly difficult on the first-time home buyers because we can lose a whole parfait level of would-be homeowner with a very small interest rate adjustment. Mm-hmm. It will also affect people who are upsizing, and we have a huge surge, I think, of people trying to buy their dream home, that rural residential property, that big glamour house, and they're trying to do it before the rates go up. But the feds keep talking about the rates going up, and then it doesn't happen. Yeah. Someday it will, but in the meantime, people, at least my buyers, are really, really concerned, and they don't want to get caught.
And what is it? If the interest rates go up, like even a quarter point, I think there's some statistic there that it eliminates a number of people, potential buyers, and potentially if you want to move up, you now cannot get as much house as you wanted because of this, correct? Because of the interest rates and changes.
Mm-hmm. And in a tight market, then you have to substitute for location, size of property, condition of property. You might not be able to get the nicer move-in ready home. Yeah. So it does cause a really big problem.
Yeah. Sandy Lighthall, what are you seeing in your clients coming? Tell me about who are you talking to? It's always interesting to hear agents talk about where the clients they work with are coming from, what they're doing, what they're looking for. So just kind of give me a quick synopsis from your perspective.
Of recent, most of my phone calls, inquiries, emails, and so forth are people from California, both Northern and Southern California.
Really?
And they're actually upset, afraid, disappointed, challenged.
Of what's happening in California?
Yeah, whether it be the taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, I sold a house to a lady from Los Gatos, Santa Cruz area, and she bought a car here when she moved up here, and she said that she bought a $16,000 car, and she said, wow, I saved $1,600 just on the sales tax.
Yeah. So the combination of no water, taxes, I mean, California is a mess right now, I think, and people, they're coming here because they love this place, where we at, the quality of life.
Living.
And we talk about that so much over these last 6 years, and every time we have guests like you bear that out because that is true.
Well, we have 10 lakes within 40 miles here.
Yeah.
If you're down in Southern California, you commute every day an hour and a half one way.
Are these, Sandy, are these retirees like baby boomers like when I am? Or is that who these people are? Or are they young people?
Some. They're all different perspectives.
Okay.
Because some people are here to get away and start something new. A lot of people embrace change. A lot of people do not embrace change. Mm-hmm. Change can be good or bad based on what your attitude is.
Okay, Alice Lima, I'm concerned. Lennox Scott, who's the owner of the company, John L. Scott, was recently down here and talked about what he thought the market was going to do, and he's just brilliant, bullish on it. I mean, he shocked me by his, I guess he's just so optimistic about things and saying it's going to continue because the Chinese in this market are, in the West Coast anyway, is really having an influence, and Californians, as you just said, Sandy. So the Chinese?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting phenomena because they are moving into the Pacific Northwest from the North Canadian border down, and also from the Southern California markets up. And so as
We're right in the middle.
We're right in the middle, and Lennox predicts that squeeze is going to start affecting our housing prices. But it's not just the Californians and the Chinese families that are helping to change our market in Southern Oregon. Dr. Lawrence Yun, who's on CNBC and Bloomberg as a economist for the National Real Estate Association, predicted in 2009 when he was here, he predicted a severe housing shortage between 2018 and 2020 because our housing starts, our new construction, was not going to happen as early at the end of the recession as it normally does. And the population increases were going to put a lot of pressure on Southern Oregon. I don't remember him mentioning the Chinese families, but this is part of what he was predicting. So even though there's going to be ups and downs, and we were talking during the break about China's devaluing the currency, and that does affect a lot of the folks that live here that are living on fixed incomes, that are living on their investments. But overall, I still think it's going to be an up market, but we are going to have some dips for sure.
Well,
One thing I wanted to interject, we have over 130 agents in our office, and it was kind of funny because one of the emails that came through, maybe both have seen it, somebody was looking for a Chinese interpreter. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah.
well, I think that it's coming.
Oh, it
because,
is.
because as you just said it, the weather here, that this is a wonderful place to be. Did you see this week? Okay, Greg Stiles from the Mail Tribune earlier in the week had I thought a pretty nice article about the wine business, the wine industry here. How from 2004 or 5, how it is more than doubled its production, doubled its acreage. I mean, look at what's going on. The number of wineries in the Rogue Valley, which is Jackson and Josephine, counties there. That was stunning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's telling us, what does that tell us? I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's just like Sonoma area down there. That became the wine capital, not capital, but the wine country of Northern California. And now they find that our falls are just as good. Our soil is outstanding.
Yeah.
And now they think we're going to be a boom area. They used to be up around Eugene and that area. Now they're down here in this area. Land is less expensive.
Isn't that funny that you say that? Land is less expensive here, and look what it's doing here. It's going up. And I think Alice in the statistics, the MLS stats recording rural properties in that 3-month period, just I guess was May, June, and July. I mean, the number of rural properties continues to sell higher than it did each time the time before. The median price is the highest median prices in our valley and rural properties right now. The issue of water is, we had the state water master with us a few weeks ago. He talked about he's the arbitrator of disputes of water. Let me tell you, you don't want that job. So all these pressures are happening even in rural properties here. I see nothing but the price, everything, the demand is just skyrocketing.
But go ahead.
On rural property, I'd mentioned that the average residential property went up 10.5%.
Yeah.
But the rural property went up 13.8%. And
under 14%, that's pretty high. Okay.
Under 5 acre parcels went up 22%. So I mean, people coming from out of the area, that's who's buying most of our rural properties because that's what they want. They want to get away from the subdivision. And a 1,200 square foot house in the Bay Area sells for $800,000 or more.
Yeah.
Well,
you can get a pretty nice rural property here for $800,000.
You better believe it.
Yeah, absolutely could. The water is the big issue I think that we're going to face. Heck, the Sheriff Falls, told us before he came and did our show that day in July. He said, "You won't believe this, but I just met with a couple from Illinois who've moved here, bought a place so they could grow 4 marijuana plants." and these are the things that are happening to us. I mean, it's so interesting, the mix of people that are coming here.
But rural
know?
residential has a lot of pressure on it right now, especially what I call the mini estates, the half acre to 3 to 5 acre. That's sort of the new little bubble here. And in part, it's from the marijuana growers. It's also, I would call the boutique mom and pop growers. But it's also the upsizers we were talking about again. They don't want 20 acres to take care of, but they don't want to be in a subdivision anymore. And they're scurrying around competing for these properties. We're having multiple offers on $400,000 and $500,000 houses with 1 to 3, 1 to 5 acre parcels with good water.
See, that's that you're right. That right now is the big in demand that we're going to see. And there's not a lot of those properties. I mean, there are, but there's not a whole lot of them either, I guess is what we're saying. That's interesting. Well, there's just a whole lot going on. That's why if you're selling, you want to make sure that you know what in the world you're doing, and getting a good agent is the way to start, at least. That's for sure. Hey, we're at the Real Estate Show with Sandy Lighthall and Alice Lima, 2 John L. Scott real estate brokers today on the show. Remember, you can watch all of our shows at realestateshowOregon.com, or we have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Real Estate Show Oregon. Don't you dare go away. We're going to continue right after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED. August the 22nd is our date. Hope you're having a good weekend. Make something happen as we're heading into fall. Although the weather, boy, it's still in the high 90s. Although it's a little cooler at night. Did you notice the other morning, actually, down in Ashland, about 5 o'clock, I walked outside, and had a whiff of that coolness. That first, you get that first coolness, and it was like, oh, fall. It's going to be nice, isn't it? After another long, hot summer. Anyway, welcome to the show. Next week here on the show, don't forget, Kelly Madding, the Jackson County Planning Director, will be along with Brad Bennington of the Home Builders, and we'll update you on what's going on in Jackson County planning and hearing if there's any apartment buildings being built here or what in the world's going on, because we have a housing shortage, folks. There's just no question about that. Today, we're with Alice Lima and Sandy Lighthall, 2 real estate brokers with John L. Scott, and we've been discussing, all sorts of things. What we learned today here, there's a lot going on. People are coming here, multiple offers on even high-priced properties, Alice is saying. Investing is still something viable. There's just a lot of things going on. Well, anyway, welcome to you all here today. Okay, I'm curious because you guys have been around. I mean, you're brokers. I'm curious as to what's the most interesting listing that you have that you can share with us, because when you do this long enough, you just come across interesting places. So, Alice, I can let you go first. What's the most interesting?
Me first? I was going to make you go first.
No. You get to go first.
I think my most interesting listing is on Foothill in the East Medford Hills, and it's really interesting because it is a true smart house. It's completely controlled by a in-house computer system. Okay. And it's not just security. It is the fireplace, the TV comes down from behind a picture in the ceiling. It's very Batman looking. And the lights can all be controlled by time of day, by day of week.
Can I use my cell phone and an app to do that? Is that what it is?
You can. Yeah. The fireplace, mood lighting, music.
Really?
Everything. Yeah, you can shut the whole house down from the master bedroom. You can start it all up from the office.
In East Medford, on Foothill. And what's the price on that one?
That one is listed at $600,000. It's on 0.85 acres.
Okay.
The address is 2490 Foothill.
All right.
And it's amazing. It's all been redone.
All right. Why hasn't it sold?
It's a little bit of a specialty. The luxury homes have a smaller amount of buyer pool.
Smaller pool of buyers.
Yeah, but it's definitely amazing. It has sweeping valley views.
And generally, higher priced properties stay in the market, days in the market a little bit longer, correct?
A little bit longer.
A little longer is a natural thing. Okay, well, good luck with that one. That's a good one. I don't know if I'd want one. It'd be interesting taking my phone and, I guess, turning on my TV when I get home, or my, heater.
Well, you can watch what's going on.
That's what I want to do.
It's fun.
Yeah, I suppose so. Sandy, tell me your most interesting listing that you got.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something I had past that happened.
No,
okay. So the one I have currently, I have a couple current ones. One is up on Dry Creek, and it's an estate sale. We start out at $375. They drop down to $325 because the estate is always more motivated than the general population.
Right.
And on this particular parcel, it's 5 acres. It's got a well, it's got the septic, and it's got a house on it, 1,700 square foot house. Mm-hmm. And it's got one of the best views in the valley. It was built 50 years ago. The people have graduated, went on to heaven. And what's happening right now, we had an offer of a little bit below 280, so they countered back at 280. They said, well, geez, if you're going to accept 280 from somebody else, why not put it on the market at 280? And so we have it at 280, but now the people, we're still in the negotiation stage right now. The people were concerned about possible asbestos.
Oh, sure.
So the estate, when it had the siding, the insulation checked, and there was, by Nielsen Labs, there's no asbestos. And so when you have a rural property or any property, even a city property, if there's a structure on it, if you leave part of it, then you don't have to pay the $15,000 plus for system development fees. So right now we have this 5-acre parcel, well, septic, good well, tremendous view, and it's substantially less than all the other properties on the market with a house on it. And so for $280, I think that
out in Dry Creek, the Dry Creek
Dry
area.
Creek off the foothills.
Yeah, that's a nice area as well.
Absolutely gorgeous. You look down on the Table Rocks. You look over at the west end of the valley.
Yeah.
And for those who want to grow medicinal herb, it has great
great sunlight potential
exposure,
too.
yes.
Great sunlight exposure. Well, I just want to say that since we're talking about interesting listings, I've listed the Medford Elks Building, the National Historic Landmark Building downtown Medford, and I've learned so much about it. But I hope that building does not be destroyed. It is at one time Medford. That was the center of Medford, where the Elks is. Kitty Corner was the old Medford City Hall. First Baptist Church was across the street. The Grand Hotel was next to it, and then the train depot. Well, 3 of those buildings are National Historic Landmarks. All 3 of those buildings are. So I hope that the Elks, but we can find a buyer for the Medford Elks Building. It would be a shame if that is destroyed or torn down. Medford doesn't have that many historic buildings downtown like that.
And that
Sorry.
building has one of the best dance floors in Southern Oregon.
There's a
So
lot
I
of
really hope
potential
somebody
for
brings
it.
it back.
In those kinds of buildings, they're eligible for tax credits. Amazingly how much you can get in terms of renovation. So hopefully somebody will come along. We're about out of time. I want to give people a chance to. Sandy, you got something to say before we go?
Oh, no.
Okay. Before we lose time here today, first of all, it's great to visit with you both. And how can someone get a hold of you, Alice? Because, how if they want to talk to you.
Well, you can reach me by text or phone, 541-301-7980. Also, my website, alicelima.com.
Yeah. And Sandy, what about you? How can someone get a hold of you?
Call John L. Scott and just ask for Sandy.
Ask for Sandy.
There's only one Sandy there.
And the easiest way to help you is to Google me. Google you. Just put Sandy in there, John L. Scott or Alice, and you'll find them as well. So it's easy to do. Anything concern you the most? Anything right now as we go into the fall, into this? As the market continues to do really well. I mean, as Alice said right at the beginning of the show, it is a seller's market. It continues to be that. Anything concern you? What do you think's the next few months?
Actually, I'm very optimistic about our economy here because people are leaving California in droves. With 36 million people down there, and we have a little bit over 3 million.
I know.
It doesn't take much to change our housing market.
Yeah.
And like Alice said, with the people living here, they're under the gun. They can't compete with 400,000 or 500,000 plus equity that they bring up here, and they're willing to pay more for less.
And we see local people in lots of markets get squeezed out, don't we?
Yes, we do.
And that would be. Well, I hope that doesn't happen here. I mean, you're right. I agree with you,
Some
Sandy.
locals could help themselves a little bit more by just being more aggressive, being more ready, having their finances in order, and don't be afraid to get out there and write those offers.
Yeah. Market ready day one, right? Whether you sell or buy it, you better be ready or you're going to not get your house.
Pre-qual letter.
Pre-qual letter, get it all ready. We've been telling everybody that. Our listeners know this. Hey, that'll do it for the Real Estate Show. Thanks, Sandy and Alice as well. Have a great week, everybody, and God bless. We'll see you next week right here on KMED.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on KMED AM and FM radio, presented by John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon, along with All Cities Property Management, the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, Ditech Mortgage, the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District, and the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. For guest information or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshowOregon.com. Join us again next weekend for Southern Southern Oregon's one and only real estate show on KMED.